All right, fire it up. Just do your thing here, bud. Nobody's any better at this than you are.
I respond, take a deep breath.
Give them hell at the end. Good luck to you.
Fight like hell like we do every week. You are the best here.
Brett, be affirmative.
You told me to get on.
Info. Ready. Ready. Go slow. Green, green, green. Lock it down, lock it down.
I'm destroyed, and I just got drove through like 6 times on the 14th. What the f*** is he thinking? That is the stupidest thing I've seen in my career. Literally.
Everything you described is accurate. Haven't even finished the second stage yet. Half the field's wrecked.
Record. Hell yeah. 11 got it.
Proud of you there, Matt. Good job, pal. Thanks, man. Good job all day. Great work, my man. Great work.
Keep putting yourself in position. We'll win our share, right? We got one back today, brother. Good job.
10-4. Great job, guys.
Maybe this is it. Welcome to Racing in the Draft. My name is Mark. Thanks for tuning in. Sorry about the muted microphone to start the broadcast. And actually, I didn't even start this right either. Boy, I'm just all sorts of pieces. All right. Yeah, here we go. All right. All right. Start all over here. Welcome to Racing in the Draft. My name is Mark. And yeah, hopefully this gets better before it gets worse. Bank of America Roval 400 this weekend at Charlotte Motor Speedway on the Roval, the road course inside the oval. But before we go to Charlotte, let's head back to Talladega, where, like we always said, the big one always shows up. The big one happened to show up a couple hundred feet from the finish line. As you can see in this picture behind us, everybody wrecking except for the top 4. And, well, Kevin Harvick got credited with Draftkings as being in second. And, yeah, Draftkings qualified, finished him in second, and he did not, because he had a loose windshield. Not sure the aerodynamic advantage of that, but NASCAR thinks there was. Lost Profit, sup, man? How you doing? Who do you have winning tomorrow? Oh, well, I mean, I did predict Ryan Blaney getting the win last week, so I guess if I'm starting the streak, it's 1 for 1. This weekend, who do I like? It's gonna be really tough not to go with Tyler Reddick, especially after watching Sam Mayer just dominate the Xfinity race. And Tyler Reddick showed a lot of what Sam Mayer did in practice, and just being just the card to beat. Seemed almost at ease for Tyler Reddick during practice and qualifying. He seemed very relaxed, and all of those things kind of also were shown with Sam Mayer. So I'm gonna have to go with Tyler Reddick for the win. Now, kind of like any other time we've got limited laps, which are road courses, super speedways, and those types of things, that doesn't necessarily always mean the biggest points getter for DraftKings. So if I'm going to go out and bet, I'm probably going to go after the Tyler Reddick play. But for DraftKings, it's not that I'm not going to have Tyler Reddick, but it's tough for the pole sitter unless they do go out and really just dominate the day. It's tough to really have them. I mean, Tyler Reddick starting on the pole, if he wins the race and he leads a fair amount of laps, yeah, he'll be probably in the optimal lineup. But there might be other guys that end up with more points than him. It's tough winning the race and leading a lot of laps not to be in the optimal lineup. But so I like the Tyler Reddick play. I also think that it's tough to decide what to do with Larson, but I think Larson is as much in play as John Hunter Nemechek was in play, if not more. John Hunter Nemechek for the Xfinity race today did not qualify. Kind of this a little bit different. He didn't wreck his car. They just had an oil leak, and he didn't qualify. Where Larson is bringing a brand new car, or not the same car he practiced with, from the shop to race. So it'll have 0 laps. Now, I'm not necessarily that worried because Hendrick is really good with their car setups. And literally Larson unloaded and was, I think, 6th or 7th or 8th fastest in practice before he hit the wall. So I'm not worried that they aren't going to have speed. They're going to have speed. And there's enough laps, and there's going to be enough. The bringing stage. Here, we'll finish Talladega, and I'll kind of get into the Roval and some of the thought processes behind Larson and Ty Dillon and a couple of those others that are starting from the back. But our optimal lineup from Talladega. Corey LaJoie kind of had that one penciled in pretty good. I pretty much had that inked in. Along with Justin Haley, both of them are really good super speedway racers who are very inexpensive and started towards the rear. The Ryan Blaney pick, I picked them as the winner. He showed up in the optimal lineup and had 9 place differentials. Chandler Smith took care of his equipment really well. Kevin Harvick, I just didn't think Kevin Harvick would stay up front the entire day. I thought he might get torn up in the rest, so I kind of missed the Kevin Harvick play. And Chase Elliott, I knew that as long as he kept a clean car, he would be there towards the end, and he was. So I had a pretty good day all around. I didn't hit the big bag, but I made enough to pretty much pay for this weekend. So that's always a positive. That's kind of what we're looking to do. But $5,700, got that right too. No dominators, 4 place differentials, 4 value picks, 2 finishers, and $5,700 left. I'm telling you, super speedways, you almost want to avoid spending all of your money. It just doesn't work. I mean, we had in the top 15, we only had one person over $10,000. Now we had William Byron, Denny Hamlin close to it, but not all the way there. So I missed the William Byron pick. I didn't think Ryan Preece would do as well as he did, getting a top 10. Austin Cindric having a pretty good day. Now, he did win Daytona, so he is a pretty decent super speedway racer, and he was driving a Ford. Ricky Stenhouse Jr., that was kind of an easy play, starting 35th. And I did not expect Riley Herbst to stay in the top 10, run in the top 10 pretty much the entire day. And, I mean, if he and Corey LaJoie don't get tangled, he potentially even pushes Kevin Harvick to a win. And then it really makes... What's up, Fish? How we doing, buddy? Hey, Fish, if you're still there, did you get a chance to practice the Roval for iRacing for tomorrow night? If you did, how you looking? With the Fish is a good friend of mine. He and I race together in iRacing sometimes. So I know he's got a big playoff event tomorrow in his iRacing, and he actually likes to drive the Roval. I'm not that good at it, so he's much better than I am. But, you know, other than that, Riley Herbst, I mean, solid day for Riley Herbst. Good on him. The optimal lineup challenge after 31 races, William Byron has still solidified himself 2 spots ahead of Ricky Stenhouse Jr. with 11, Ricky Stenhouse with 9, Chris Buescher with 8, Kyle Larson, Martin Truex Jr., Justin Haley, Chase Elliott, all with 8. Can Chase Elliott or maybe a Justin Haley or even a Kyle Larson get that 9th and get a little closer to William Byron? Can William Byron get one more and get to 12? I don't know. We'll find out. Head to the Roval. We are headed to Charlotte Motor Speedway for the road course inside of an oval, or better known as the Roval 400. It is a road course type. It's 2.28 miles in length with 17 tricky turns right and left. Race length is 109 laps. Dominator points, not many. 76.3. Not many Dominator points at all for this weekend, but it's not something that we will lean heavily on. It's something to take into consideration, but I think place differential and finishing position are going to be much more of a premium, more so than Dominator. Now, like I said, Tyler Reddick could easily dominate, and that could come into play. But if he starts first and finishes first, it's not really going to make that big of a difference. He'll show up in the optimal laps. Track comparisons that we use when we're looking at this is pretty much your simple other road courses. Definitely the Charlotte Roval, which is the same course we're running on. Chicago Street Course, Indy gets into this play, Sonoma, Watkins Glen, pretty much all the road courses. I don't really like Road America or COTA as a comparison. They're a little bit longer and a little bit, they just run differently. Sonoma actually is, actually Sonoma and Watkins Glen are somewhat similar in length and how tight they can be. They do have some runoff zones and things like that, but I really don't like to compare to Road America or COTA. Right, the real reason we're here, let's discuss drivers. All right, so before we get into this, let's discuss the Kyle Larson potential and have him or don't have him. This was Lost Profit's question on what to do. I think it's going to be one of those. Kyle Larson, I don't think is going to lead anything in the first stage. If he does, it's going to be a slight miracle. It's a little tough to pass at the Roval, first. Second, I think you risk too much to try to drive up into the top 10 starting 36th. Now, there are 37 drivers starting, but he and Ty Dillon both had issues, and Ty Dillon's further down the points, so Ty Dillon starts further back than Kyle Larson. So Kyle Larson will be credited with starting 36th, not 37th. I'm not worried about the car. I'm not worried about Kyle Larson. The question is, can he keep his car clean for the entire race? Hopefully. He does have a tendency to either win this race or wreck in this race. And typically when he wrecks, he does it all on his own, which he did in practice today. So there is a little bit of concern on the hot and cold streak of Kyle Larson at the Roval. I think because he understands hopefully he understands the importance of this race and being aware of his surroundings and understanding that he is going to have to pass a ton of guys to get to where he makes it to the next round. Cliff Daniels is going to be in his ear all day long on take care of the equipment, take care of the car, take care of your tires. We don't have to get to the top 10 in the first stage. We don't have to get there in the second stage. They'll do some things on pit road to get in there and help him get in there. There will be a lot of guys that will go for a win instead of go for points to make it to the next round. Bubba Wallace is sitting right on that edge. He is starting in the 4th position. If he is running in the top 5, maybe even the top 10, depending on if the field is spread out when they're coming to the first caution, will also be a big determining factor on whether Bubba Wallace goes for points, for stage points, or if they are going to take the strategy and try to go for the win. It's going to be interesting. Sam Mayer went for the win. He did not care about the stage points. He knew he couldn't get enough stage points to make it, so he literally got up front, stayed up front. He pitted with 2 laps before each of the stage ends. Got tires when everybody else pitted. The caution came out, and he went back to the front and cycled through. That's kind of how this gets played if you're looking to win. But the problem is, if you do that, you lose all of the stage points possibilities. So, I don't have the point tally in front of me on who might, like Denny Hamlin is going to go for a win. Denny Hamlin will not go for stage points. Now, he may go for stage points in the first, because I think all he needs to do is start and get like 5 stage points. If he does that, it doesn't matter where he finishes in the field. If he does that, then I think he pits when he needs to pit prior to the stage ending in stage 2. But if he's following that along with a couple other people, it's going to be a little tough. Tyler Reddick, I know, is just 2 points out. Bubba Wallace is like 9 points out. I can't remember who's on the positive side, but guys like Ryan Blaney, William Byron, they don't care about the stage points. They're gonna stay out. They're gonna go for the win. So those two guys. So Tyler Reddick's gonna probably. I think it depends on how big of a lead he's got. If he's got a big enough lead, like Sam Mayer at the Xfinity race kind of played this perfectly. He got to a really big lead before the stage was coming to an end. He had like a 2.5, 3 second lead. He was able to come in, get tires, get back out, and he still finished 8th or 9th in the stage, which still gave him some stage points. Now, I think the field's going to be a little bit tighter than it was at the Xfinity race. We also didn't see a caution in the first stage either. So there's going to be lots of those types of scenarios that end up potentially getting played when this all happens, and we're not going to really be able to know. We know some guys that William Byron, Ryan Blaney, potentially a Denny Hamlin, if he's not in the top 5, are going to come in and get tires and not worry about stage points in stage 1. Then it's all going to get shuffled up again, and it's going to be where are these guys running, and do they have a shot at stage points? Do they come in and get tires or not? I think Kyle Larson probably comes and gets tires before the end of stage 1 and before the end of stage 2. That's the best way to get through kind of some of the field a little bit quicker, is to do that. But it's all going to be depending on where he's running at the time that it's 2 to go before the stage ends. So there's going to be, I think Kyle Larson's going to end up being fine. Is Kyle Larson potentially going to win this thing? It's going to be really tough. Can he potentially get himself a top 10? Yeah, absolutely. I'm not worried about the car. I'm not worried about the pit crew. I'm not worried as much about the driver, other than he does have a tendency to make some mistakes at the Roval, more so than other road courses. But he's also won the Roval before. So, all right. So hopefully that kind of, I know that doesn't help because it's kind of up in the air on what to do and what not to do with these guys. And what I still think Kyle Larson's almost a must-have. It's one of those, if you don't have him, 60 to 65% of the field's going to have him. That's going to be the biggest problem, is he's going to be so heavily owned that if you don't have him and he does well, you don't stand a chance to probably even be in the realm of being in cash or in tournaments. If you do have him and he has a bad day, you're right there with 60 to 65% of the rest of the field. So it's not that big of a loss. The question becomes, do you want to be part of the 35%? And this is where people get contrarian and are like, well, I'm going to fade off of him, not have him in my lineup, and hope he has a bad day. And then I'm going to be in the top 35% because I didn't have him and he didn't have a great day. There is that possibility. I think because of Kyle Larson's expertise at the Roval and having the ability to run well, like I said, I know he's made some mistakes there. Hendrick Motorsports being able to put together really good equipment right out of the gate, I'm not worried about that. Cliff Daniels is probably one of the smartest crew chiefs. Kyle Larson's pit crew is one of the top 10 fastest pit crews. They've also shown some adversity when they've had some issues and troubles in the past with small issues with their vehicles. I have a tendency, and all Kyle Larson's going to need to do to probably make an optimal lineup is finish top 15. If he's top 10 and you don't have him, yeah, your lineup's screwed. So either be with the 65% and just call it a wash, or take the chance and be in the other 35% that either does really well or does really bad. I'm on the boat with, I'm going to have a decent amount of ownership. I'm probably in the 60-65% ownership range, and we'll get to that in 1 second. So hopefully that clears that up. Lost profit. I know that was kind of a long explanation. Hopefully it wasn't too long. But either way, let's talk about the drivers and the Roval and this box I've got here. We'll go into detail with Chase Elliott, and then we'll kind of summarize the rest of them and kind of talk about more detail about each some of the drivers that I like and don't like. Chase Elliott, 10,500. He is starting 28th, or starting 8th, sorry, not 28th. So with Chase Elliott, his price on DraftKings is 10,500. The next line here is his starting position. He qualified in the 8th position. Here in gray next to it are his practice times or speeds or locations. He was 10th in single lap practice. So this is everybody that goes out, they run the fastest lap, whether it's lap 1 or lap 9. He was 10th fastest out of the 37 drivers. He did 9 total laps of practice. Now, he did not even do a 5-lap consecutive average, so he did not go out and run 5 consecutive laps. Now, 24 drivers made 5-lap consecutive averages, and we'll pinpoint those when we get to them. Chase Elliott was not one of them, so that one's not applicable. Next line down is, this is top 5, top 10, top 20, so he had two. This is in comparison to this lineup here, which is the Roval from 2022 and 2021, Watkins Glen of this year and last year, and the Indy Road Course from this year. Those, I feel, are probably the most comparable tracks to the Roval. The Roval to the Roval is inexact, but the other 3 are kind of what I thought might be the closest and kind of feel are the best comparisons. Now, when looking at my ranking system, which is this number up here in the top left, this number 7, I take into account many other road courses, including COTA, including Road America, and those types of things. I also include the trend for the last 10 races, regardless of what track style they drive at. I look at practice speeds, qualifying, all of those things get kind of plugged in, and I've got Chase Elliott ranked as a number 7 out of the 37 drivers. So down here, the bottom line again. So this is a comparison to these 5 tracks, or these 5 races up here. He's got 2 top 5s, 2 top 10s, 4 top 20s, a 29.7 DraftKings average, and a 14th place average finish out of those 5 races. The last race here, the Roval, which was this time last year, Chase Elliott finished 20th. Then over here are his total road course stats. So the full road course history for Chase Elliott. He's got 28 total starts on road courses. He's got 7 wins, 16 top 5s, 19 top 10s, 24 top 20s, and an 8.7 average finish. Starting 8th, pretty good average finish. Finish where you start. Probably he might finish a little better than that. Now remember, Chase Elliott is not in the drivers' playoffs. He is in the owners' playoffs with the number 9 car with Hendrick. They are in pretty good shape. As long as Chase Elliott has a decent day, the 9 car will continue to move on, which is really how they get paid. So a lot more explanation into that. But the number 9 car and the owner is in the owners' championship, and that's where the big money gets paid. Just remember that. So that's kind of this box and a breakdown. And then this 45 to 50%. This is my ownership that I have of Chase Elliott, and this is over the course of 40 lineups. I run mostly 20 max tournaments, and I typically run 2 different lineups, and then what I do is I look at my total ownership inside those 40 lineups, and this is what I have, is I have 45 to 50% ownership for Chase Elliott. Chase Elliott has won twice at the Roval, and his teammate, Kyle Larson, has run once at the Roval. So Kyle Larson here at $10,300, $200 cheaper, is coming in at first on my ranking algorithmic prediction, mostly because of his starting spot. Also because he's a decent road course racer, and it's Kyle Larson. But 10,300. Now, he was 8th in single lap practice before he wrecked. He did 8 laps of practice, and he was 17th on 5-lap consecutive average. Out of the road courses we're using in comparison, he's got 2 wins, 2 top 5s, 3 top 10s, 3 top 20s, a 28.2 DraftKings average, and a 14.2 average finish. And like I said, he's had some troubles and some victories here at the Roval. He finished 35th here last year. So There's one of them. 31 total road course starts, 3 wins, 14.3 average finish. I've got him in 50 to 55% of my lineups. I think it's just one of those. It's damned if you do, damned if you don't. I think there's more downside if you don't have him and he does well, where there is a slight possibility he has a bad day and everybody else is on him. That's being contrarian, and that's sometimes how you win tournaments. But if Kyle Larson has a good day, which, I mean, Kyle Larson has a tendency to have more better days than bad days, I just don't like the odds when it comes to it, and I don't know what those odds are, but I'm sure some math whiz could figure it out. But I predict Kyle Larson to probably be 60% owned, so I might actually be a little underweight on the field. William Byron next in line here, 10,200, starting 14th. And this part of it I don't like because it doesn't show what William Byron's done recently on road courses, which has been absolutely phenomenal. William Byron has been probably between William Byron and Chris Buescher, probably are the current 2 best road course racers in the field. And Tyler Reddick is probably a close third. 10,200 for William Byron, starting 14th. Practice speeds weren't great. He was 29th in single lap. That's a little worrisome. 12th in 5-lap consecutive average. But also remember, William Byron, he's into the next round. He finished dead last in this race. Doesn't matter to him. So it's either checkers or wreckers potentially for William. Now, William doesn't want to go out and destroy equipment, but if he ends up having a bad day, he's not going to force the issue. But if he has an opportunity to win, he's going to go out and win. He's got 1 win out of the 5 road courses that I'm using in comparison to this. 1 top 5, 1 top 10, 4 top 20s, a 12.8 average finish. He finished 16th in this race last year. 25 total starts on road courses with 1 win, 2 top 5s, 8 top 10s, and 17 top 20s with a 16.4 average finish. So, I mean, out of these 3, all being Hendrick Motorsports, Chase Elliott with an 8.7 average finish might be the best road course racer out of the group. But I think, what have you done for me lately? William Byron, probably hands down, is probably the best of the 3. But we'll see. I don't have as high of hopes for William Byron as I do for the other guys, but I think Hendrick could have a very good day tomorrow. Tyler Reddick, my pick to win, $10,000. He is starting from the pole position. He was 2nd in single lap speed, 13 total laps at practice. He was 1st in 5-lap consecutive average in the last 5 road courses that we're comparing to. 2 top 5s, 5 top 10s, 5 top 20s, a 5.8 average finish, which I think is the best on the field. He finished 8th here last year in this race. He's got 3 wins on road courses out of 19, 5 top 5s, 12 top 10s, and 14 top 20s with a 12.9 average finish. Like I said, I really like the Tyler Reddick play. I don't, and this is the most I think I've ever had, except for in 2021 when Kyle Larson was on his just hot streak, of a pole setter. I'm very, very confident with the Tyler Reddick play this weekend. Martin Truex Jr. I don't know what to do with Martin Truex Jr. He's not in a must-win situation, but he's in a cannot have another bad race. I don't think he's had a top 10 in this entire playoffs. I think it's even top 15, I think is what Jeff Gluck was saying. This entire playoffs. So literally he has been just coasting through these playoffs with all of his bonus points and just making it through. 9,800. Starting 11th. He was 19th in single lap, but he was 3rd in 5-lap consecutive average. Okay, that's a little bit better. Still a little concerning if we look at the 5 road courses that we're looking at. Now, he does have the win at Sonoma from earlier this year. He doesn't have a top 5. 2 top 10, 2 top 10s, 3 top 20s. 16.4 average finish. His average finish isn't awful. It's not very good either. Finished 17th in this race last year. Now, Martin Truex Jr. on road courses, for his history, is pretty good. 47 total starts with 5 wins and 33 top 20s, a 15.2 average finish. So, I mean, Martin knows how to drive road courses. That's no question or thought. I still think there's a little mental gap going on with Martin and Sherry Pollock passing away a couple weeks ago, who was his long-term. They never got married, but they were pretty much attached at the hip forever and ever. So I still think there's a little bit of a sorrowfulness with Martin right now that's kind of put a damper on his spirit to the track. So hopefully Martin can pull out of it and have a good weekend. Denny Hamlin, 9,600. Denny Hamlin, I don't know, I can't remember what it is, has to finish 30th, or he's got to finish in the top 5 in one of the 2 stages, and he's locked into the next round. And once that happens, all bets are off. Denny's going to go for the win. He's a decent road course racer. He has a tendency to make as many mistakes, if not more mistakes, on road courses than Kyle Larson does. It really is much more of a checkers or records with Denny. I've only got him in 15 to 20% of my lineups. I don't love the Denny Hamlin play today. I don't hate the Denny Hamlin play either. I think he kind of gets his stage points. I think he may try to do some crazy things to potentially get the win. If those things get played off well, then he stands a shot. But I think this is much more of a play that Denny's going to kind of coast through this, get to the next round, and then he's going to turn it back on. Now, it's not as easy as a light switch, but, I mean, as long as Denny Hamlin gets through this round, we've got some really good races coming up for Denny Hamlin. And he has just been lights out lately. So, I think Denny Hamlin kind of just coasts through this race, make sure he doesn't have anything extreme happen, gets a decent finish. And I say decent, I think that's 7th through 12th, which is kind of where he's starting. So I don't have a whole lot of ownership in Denny Hamlin. I don't mind the Denny Hamlin play. I think it's a safe play. It is absolutely a cash play. If you're playing in any of the cash games, Denny Hamlin is probably one of the safest plays out there. Christopher Bell's in a pretty good spot in points. If he's got 2 good stages, so I think Christopher Bell could easily be one of those that runs for stage points, and is not necessarily concerned with the wins. He's going to try to lock himself in with a good points day. So I think Christopher Bell is potentially one of those that goes and tries to get stage points. And starting on the front row in second, I don't think he's as good at road courses as Tyler Reddick is. Now, I mean, out of the last 5 races that we're comparing to, he's got a 5.8 average finish. Pretty good. 2 top 5s, 5 top 10s, 1 win. That win came last year here at the Roval. And I wish I'd saved or had the stat I could bring up. Sorry. Christopher Bell was 9th, 10th, 11th, somewhere in there last year before chaos broke out in the last 10 laps of the race last year, which then gave Christopher Bell the win. Chase Elliott had been dominating the majority of that race last year. So Christopher Bell snuck in with that win, got himself to the next round, and then goes out and wins Martinsville and got into the Final Four. Christopher Bell is good enough to make the Final Four. Doesn't have to steal a win. There is that possibility. And Christopher Bell's not bad at road courses. I just don't think he's as good as Chase Elliott and Tyler Reddick. So starting second, I think there's a little bit of worrisome in the back of my head. That he's 17th in single lap practice. He didn't do a 5-lap consecutive run. I don't mind the play. I don't like the play at all. Starting second, I think Tyler Reddick is going to be class to the field, and I think Christopher Bell is going to be playing second, third, fourth, fifth, and they've had some issues on pit road. So I mean, you got an issue on pit road this weekend, you're in deep trouble because you only get 2 or 3 shots, and it's tough to make up. It's tough to pass people at the Roval. Kyle Busch, 9,300. Another one who has struggled on pit road. He finished third in this race last year, but remember, he was racing for Joe Gibbs Racing in a Toyota. Now, Toyota sucked at road courses last year until they got to the Roval. Prior to that, they'd had just a crap year on road courses. But Kyle Busch, historically, at the Roval is not good. He was also not good at Daytona Roval, and he hasn't ever had any luck at the Indy road course either. I mean, he's a decent road course driver. He just is not good on the Roval configurations for some reason. Out of the 5 races that we're looking at, he's got 2 top 5s, 2 top 10s, 3 top 20s. Okay. 17.8 average finish, though. And the problem is he's starting 5th. He was 26th in practice on single lap and 8th in 5-lap consecutive average. Now, Kyle Busch is going to need to win this race. So he is absolutely not going to come in he's going to come in before the end of the stage. He can't point his way in, so there's no reason for him to stay out. So he's definitely going to have the strategy of going for a win, which for Draftkings goes into our favor. I don't like the Kyle Busch play tomorrow. What have you done for me lately? And it hasn't been good. The second round has been awful for Kyle Busch, and he pretty much just kind of got his way into the second round. So Kyle Busch has not had a good playoff, and what have you done for me lately kind of comes into play. And starting 5th, I'm not willing to take that chance. So I'm only at 0 to 5% ownership with Kyle Busch. Michael McDowell, our winner from the Indy road course Roval style track, which is a much more flat track than what we're dealing with this weekend. But Michael McDowell is also a really good road course racer. Now, his stats don't say so. 17.2 average finish. He finished 27th in this race last year. Only 1 win with 1 top 5, and that was at the Indy road course about a month and a half ago. 1 top 5, 2 top 10s, 3 top 20s. So yeah, but starting 13th, I know they want to build on their success and continue to have a good, strong finish to their 2023. I could see going either way with this. I do like there is a little bit of potential for place differential with Michael, where there's not much for like a Kyle Busch or Christopher Bell. But I could easily see fading off of Michael McDowell, especially 31st in single lap and didn't do a 5-lap consecutive run. So I could see not playing Michael or playing Michael, especially when you're priced right next to AJ Allmendinger, the road course ringer. $9,000 starting 6th, 5th in single lap, 11 total laps of practice. He was 6th in 5-lap consecutive average. All of those are really good. That's right where AJ needs to be. I'd like to see him in a little bit more speed. I don't know. Out of everybody, he's going to be one of the guys that's going to be able to go up and challenge Tyler Reddick potentially for the win, along with Chase Elliott. So he is probably one of my top 3 drivers for this weekend. He does not have a win on a road course recently, especially in the next-gen era of the Cup Series. He has not won this year or last year. But he does have 3 top 5s, 3 top 10s, 3 top 20s, a 14.8 average finish. He finished 4th in this race last year. I'm pretty much sure he's got 1 or 2 Xfinity wins at the Charlotte Roval. So I do like some AJ Allmendinger. I wish there was a little bit more place differential, but I'm okay with it either way. He's really strong on the road courses. So I've got 20-25% ownership with AJ Allmendinger. Next in line here, Chris Buescher, who has kind of cooled off a little bit in the playoffs, but he's definitely top 5 of the guys that I would consider almost a road course ringer. It's Chase Elliott, Tyler Reddick, AJ Allmendinger, and now Chris Buescher. Chris Buescher hasn't finished outside the top 15 in like 2 years on road courses. It's been insane. He's got a 7.2 average finish for the 5 races that we're comparing to. He doesn't have a win, but he is just consistently running top 10s. He finished 6th in this race last year. Starting 20th, I'm willing to roll the dice on Chris Buescher just because he is that good on road courses. Now, he needs to have a pretty decent day. I think he is one of those that's probably going to go for stage breaks if they're there. If he can move from 20th up to 7th, 6th, 5th, and that's where he is with 2 to go before the stage breaks, Chris Buescher is going to stay out and get some stage points. He doesn't necessarily have to race for the win. He needs to race for a good day with a solid finish, which, starting 20th, if he can finish in the top 10, that's going to be real close to what we need for optimal lineup, or at least top 10 in Draftkings points. So that's where I kind of have Chris Buescher following it, and that's why I've got a massive amount of ownership on him. I probably have a little more than I probably should. 50 to 55% is really, really high. But I think he's easily probably one of the top 5 best drivers in the field tomorrow. Ryan Blaney, 8,600, starting 17th, coming off his win last week at the Talladega Super Speedway. Ryan Blaney is a decent road course racer. He's probably between 10th and 15th. So not a ton of place differential, in my opinion, for Ryan Blaney this weekend. He's got the win already locked up. He's moving on to the next round. To potentially go get a win to get some more playoff points is definitely there for Ryan Blaney, and they're gonna be the ones that do some weird strategies. They're gonna stay out. They don't care about stage points. They're gonna come in and pit. They're gonna go for a win. Could potentially mar them in the back of the field a little bit. And like I said, Ryan Blaney just is not as strong of a road course racer as I would want to have much ownership with somebody who's already locked into the next round. So I've got him in 15 to 20%. I didn't completely outfade him because, I mean, there is some place differential here. He's kind of starting in the middle of the field. So I don't know. I think Ryan Blaney could be another good cash play if you're playing in cash lineups. Daniel Suarez, 8,500, starting 3rd. I don't love this play at all, starting in 3rd. Cool car, though. Super bright. Almost too bright, in my opinion. But you definitely can't miss him on the track. $8,500. I mean, Daniel won at Sonoma last year. He's had some pretty good success on road courses. Not so much last year at the Roval. He finished 36th. He's got a 15.8 average finish for the 5 races we're looking at. If we look at his total body of work on road courses, 27 total times with 1 win, that win last year at Sonoma, and a 20.3 average finish. I mean, that's almost the worst average finish that we've seen so far. So, starting 3rd, there's kind of nowhere to go but down, unless he just is knocking it out of the park. And this track is much more different than the Indy road course. It's not so different that we're talking Road America or Circuits of America, but I just don't love this play with him starting in 3rd. I think there's other better drivers out there, so I've only got him in 5 to 10% of my lineups. Same thing with his teammate Ross Chastain, 8,300. Ross has got to make up some ground. Ross has got to have some stage points, which means he's going to potentially sacrifice the potential win if he's running in the top 10 or probably top 7. He's going to stay out for those stage points, which is going to put him a little bit further behind after the stage breaks, especially going into the 3rd stage. Now, if he happens to be a little bit behind, that's not any better either. So I just don't like where we're sitting with Ross. He's got 1 win. That was at Coda. He just had a lights-out car. I mean, so did Daniel Suarez that year. Ross finished 37th in this race last year. He's got a 23.2 average finish over the road courses we're looking at. He's been really, really hot and cold as of late. I don't know if Trackhouse just has a little bit more on their plate than they should, kind of like Stuart Haas, and more like Tony Stewart, just being all over the place right now. So I don't love the Ross Chastain play. Starting in 12th, 5 to 10% ownership. So Joey Logano, 8,200, who is just having a tough year. Poor Joey. I feel bad for him. No, I don't. I don't like Joey Logano. Sorry. Hopefully not a Joey Logano fan out there. I mean, congrats on him for being a two-time NASCAR champion. Respect. And he's been around forever. And he's got at least 10 more years in this sport. So good on Joey. He's having more of a hot and cold year than a Ross Chastain is. It's just starting in 7th, he was 9th in single lap practice. Okay, that's pretty good. Only did 8 laps of practice. He finished 18th in this race last year. We're looking at the last 5 road courses, 14.4 average finish with 1 top 5, 3 top 10s. I mean, yeah, if he finishes where he starts, it's not bad. It's not great. It's just there. But if he finishes any worse, he's out of the top 15 in points, and I just don't like that play. I don't like where he's starting. I don't like the consistency that he has not had lately. I mean, same thing could be said with Ty Gibbs. Talk about hot and cold, but I expect a rookie to be hot and cold. I mean, Ty Gibbs could easily be one of the guys that just comes up, sneaks out of nowhere, and gets his first win. Still saying, it could still happen this year. I'm still on the bandwagon of I think Ty Gibbs gets a win this year. And this could possibly be it. $8,000 starting 10th. He was 6th in single lap practice, 5th in 5 lap consecutive average. I think he does have a Roval win in the Xfinity Series, if I remember correctly. It was either him or AJ. I mean, they kind of split everything for a while there at most road courses. 16.3 average finish for the 5 races that we are comparing to. 1 top 5, 1 top 10, 2 top 20s. Finished 22nd this race last year. I mean, I don't love the Ty Gibbs play by any means, and it could come back to bite me if he ends up having a great weekend. I'm not. He's too hot and cold for me to really go very deep on him. Like I said, I've got 5 to 10% ownership. Same thing with Kevin Harvick. He's just been. It's not that he's cold, and it's not that he's hot. He's just kind of lukewarm, and lukewarm just doesn't quite cut it. He has the potential. He's got 2 wins on road courses in his entire career out of 60, almost 60 total starts. 13.4 average finish for his careers on road courses. Lately, it's been an 18.0 at the 5 tracks we're comparing to. He finished 2nd this race last year, so Kevin knows how to get around the Roval. But also remember, there was a lot of chaos at the end of that race last year. He was not running in 2nd when all that started. He was running, I think, 13th or 14th. So if that happens again and there's not chaos, then Kevin Harvick doesn't have a 2nd place finish. So I don't love the Kevin Harvick play at all. I'm only 10 to 15% ownership with Kevin. Mostly because there is a decent amount of place differential if it doesn't take a whole lot for him to have a decent day on DraftKings. Alex Bowman, next in line here at 7,700. Starting 16th, he was 24th in single lap, 11th in 5 lap consecutive average. Remember, there was only 24 drivers who did 5 lap consecutive averages, so it's kind of right in the middle of the ballpark there. Kind of qualified in the middle, a little bit better than the middle. 13th place average finish for the 5 road courses that we're looking at. Not bad. It's one of the better average finishes that we've seen. 1 top 5, 2 top 10s, 3 top 20s. It's a coin flip. I think Alex Bowman finishes 13th. And I don't think that's enough place differential for it to really matter. So Alex is decent at road courses. It just hasn't shown up as well with this next gen car as in Xfinity or trucks. He's really good in the trucks on road courses. But we're not in the trucks, and next gen car has not been the best for him. So, 5 to 10% ownership is what I have on Alex Bowman. Don't love it, don't hate it. There's a little bit of place differential there. Not as much place differential as Austin Cindric's got, though. Starting 29th, he was 11th in single lap practice, did not do a 5-lap consecutive average. He's got a 16.3 average finish at 4 of the 5 road courses that we're comparing to. Out of his 14 total road courses, he's got a 13.9 average finish. If he can just get to his average finish, that's going to be a win. That's going to be a top 15 in Draftkings points. And that's really ideally kind of what I'd like to see. No, I don't have much ownership in him. I probably should have a little bit more ownership. The problem is, Austin Cindric lately has sucked bad. Like Ty Dillon bad. I don't know what's going on with Austin Cindric. I don't know what's going on with that car. Because Ryan Blaney's winning races. But Joe Logano's sucking it up too. So, there's place differential here. Austin Cindric knows how to drive road courses. The problem is they've sucked recently. Do with it what you want. I don't have a whole lot of ownership with Austin Cindric this weekend, but I could easily see the potential is definitely there with the stats. The problem is he only did 7 laps of practice, so the sample size is not big. So, Chase Briscoe, another one in a Ford, Stuart Haas, who has not been good. The Fords have not been good. But Chase Briscoe at the Indy road course was pretty good. Starting 30th, decent amount of place differential. 3rd in single lap practice speeds, did not do a 5-lap consecutive average. 19.4 average finish for the 5 road courses that we're looking at. 18.6 average finish over 17 total road course starts. I mean, there's not a whole lot of downside to starting 30th. There's a decent amount of upside. So I could see having some ownership. I've got him in 10 to 15%, and I'm not real heavy on him because Stuart Haas has not been good. They've been just as bad as Penske. I mean, really the only Fords that are doing really well lately are pretty much RFK Racing. And speaking of RFK Racing, we've got Brad Keselowski, 7,200, who is not great at road courses as of recent. In fact, he's never had a win on a road course. 16.5 average finish, starting 19th. He was 21st in single lap speed, 24th in 5-lap consecutive average. He finished 14th in this race last year. Out of the 5 comparison tracks, he's got a 17.6. Pretty much sounds like he's going to finish where he starts by all the metrics we're looking at. He might move up to 17th or 18th. That's not enough. That's not good enough. And that's not good enough for Brad Keselowski to get to the next round. So I don't have a whole lot of ownership with Brad Keselowski, and don't blame me if you don't either. But I could see the potential call for, well, he's got to do well. He's got to get to the next round. Yeah. Hopium is what that is, and we don't bet on hopium. So yeah, I'm not real interested in Brad Keselowski. I'm not interested in Bubba Wallace either, who self-admittedly to himself is not good at road courses. He has gotten better. Don't yell at me yet. He has gotten better. And I tell you what, they showed up this weekend ready to race. 1st in single lap practice, 2nd in 5-lap consecutive average. Goes out and qualifies 4th. Finished 7th in this race last year. Remember, there was a lot of chaos and carnage towards the end of the race. That helped him out a lot. He's got a 17.2 average finish. Starting 4th is too high for me to like. I'm willing to roll the dice and say Bubba Wallace does not have a good race. He does not make it to the next round. I think he should hold his head high. He has done extremely well to get this far into the playoffs and be in potential contention to move on. Bubba Wallace could absolutely, easily prove me wrong, go out and win this race tomorrow, and I will be more than happy to eat humble soup. And I will give him the golf clap of golf claps if he goes out and finishes high enough to make it to the next round and finishes high enough to call me a fool by not taking him in Draftkings. I just don't think it's there. So I don't have a whole lot of ownership in Bubba Wallace. Family Man, what's up, bud? Seeing you is live. Just drop to hit the like button. Thanks, I appreciate that, Matt. Shoot me a message. Hope you're doing well. Good luck to everyone. Yep, man. Hopefully, if you're gonna put some lineups together, you hit the bag. If not, I know you're probably killing it in the NFL and bankrolling for next year. So thanks for stopping by and thanks for the like. I appreciate it. But yeah, Bo Wallace, I don't have a whole lot of interest. He's starting too high up for me. So I'll be more than happy to eat crow if he does well. I'd like for him to do well. I'd like to see him make the next round. I think it's good for NASCAR. Regardless of how I feel about his driving style and his mental issues. Eric Jones, next in line here at 6,900. I mean, Eric Jones is probably just as bad as Bubba Wallace on road courses. The difference is Eric Jones is starting 23rd. I still don't think it's far enough back for me to really be interested, though. He's 25th in single lap practice. He didn't do a 5-lap consecutive average. Yeah, he finished 11th in this race last year. Yeah, the last 4 or 5 weeks have been much, much better with Legacy Motorsports, Motor Club. But starting 23rd, it just seems risky. So I don't have a whole lot of desire to take Eric Jones starting 23rd. I think he and Bubba Wallace end up finishing close together, somewhere between 17th and 21st. I think there was a little bit of movement up for Eric Jones, but it's not enough for me to be really that interested. Nothing in practice showed me that he was going to have a super fast car. I mean, of course, there's always the potential that there's some carnage and strategy that comes into play that changes all this, but straight up, I don't think Eric Jones is a great play. As you can see, 0 to 5%. Justin Haley, on the other hand, who's been taking road course driving lessons from probably, hands down, maybe one of the best, AJ Allmendinger, and his teammate. I mean, he was almost able to win the Chicago street course, and he ran really well at Indy. And if we look at, now, he finished 5th in this race last year. So, I mean, good on him. I could see the call that, like, well, he's not all that good. He's got a 24.4 average finish over the last 5 races that we're looking at. I mean, yeah. I mean, I could see the argument that, yeah, he's probably going to finish where he starts. I'm willing to roll the dice on a Justin Haley play more so than Bubba Wallace or Eric Jones. That's just my personal opinion. I can understand the stats don't say anything to the difference. I just think it's a gut shot that Justin Haley ends up having a good day. I think he has a better day than Ricky Stenhouse Jr., who is starting 2 spots worse than him, 6,500. But Ricky Stenhouse Jr. is probably just as bad as the last 4 guys that we've talked about. None of these guys are very good at road course racing. Ricky's probably a little too aggressive. Starting 27th, he was 16th in single lap, 7th in 5-lap consecutive average. Okay, it does say 10 laps. I didn't change that. Because typically we look at 10-lap consecutive average. Don't yell at me. Sorry. It's the small things that irritate me. But either way. 18.6 average finish. I mean, his average finish is right there with Brad and Bubba. He's starting 27th, though. So out of everybody on the page, he's starting worse than anybody. So he's got maybe the best potential for place differential. But 18.6 average finish, 19th place finish in this race last year. Has never finished in the top 5 on a road course ever, and only finished once in the top 10. At least Justin Haley's finished twice in the top 5, 3 times in the top 10. Compared to Ricky Stenhouse Jr.'s only 1 top 10 out of 35 total road course starts. Yeah, he's finished 21 times in the top 20. But I mean, I guess an 18th place or 17th place finish, 10 spots, potentially might be enough because we don't have a whole lot of Dominator points on the board today. So, Austin Dillon, 6,400. This is definitely the epitome of I think he finishes where he starts. Starting 15th, 22nd in single lap, 10th in 5-lap consecutive average. He's the same as Ricky Stenhouse Jr. He's never finished in the top 5. He's only got 1 top 10 out of his entire career on road courses, and that's out of 32 total races. Now, half the time, I'll give him credit, he finishes in the top 20. That's what I said. I think he finishes where he starts, because that's what he does. Got a 22.7 average finish for his entire career and a 17-point average finish over the 5 races that we're comparing to. There's just not much there. Other than hope, and I don't typically try to go off of hope. There are a couple drivers I do occasionally have a little bit of hopium or just a gut feeling that I think they may end up doing well. One of them is coming up. Ryan Preece, 6,300. Ryan Preece is not that one. Same thing. Ryan Preece, 16 total starts on road courses. 1 top 10, 7 top 20s. Never finished in the top 5. 22.3 average finish. Starting 18th. He was 30th in single lap, 14th in 5-lap consecutive average. Nothing on there tells me he's going to light the world on fire, and if he's going to have to light it way up on fire. He's going to need to finish top 8 for him to come into play. So I don't have a lot of ownership, or it just outkicked his coverage. Zane Smith. We don't have a whole lot for Zane Smith. He's got 1 start on road courses in the next gen car. And he finished 34th. Well, he's starting 34th. He was 34th in single lap speed. 19th in 5-lap consecutive average. But starting 34th, there's not much place. Can't fall much further than there. Now he's 6,200, so it's a little bit on the pricey side. So I'm taking a shot in the dark on Zane Smith. He is one of the Truck Series on road courses more often than not. He knows how to drive road courses. Zane just needs to have a good, clean day. Don't cause any problems. Don't cause any issues. Get your spots where you can get them. Don't force it. And get yourself a top. Somewhere between, I'm going to say 20th. 18th through 23rd. And that's going to be probably enough. That'll put you probably close to the top 15. And if he happens to finish any better than that, that's a win. I'll take Zane Smith over everybody on this board. Eric Almirola, starting 21st. 13 spots place differential right off the gate. And Zane, I think, is a better and smarter road course racer than Eric Almirola. Once again, Eric Almirola, 36 total starts on road courses. 0 top 5s. 2 top 10s. Half the time he finishes in the top 20, but never cracks the top 10. Well, he's starting 21st. There's nothing there. He practiced 23rd, 16th on 5-lap consecutive average. He finished 15th. 6 place differential points is not enough. So, yeah, I don't have much ownership in Eric Almirola either. Corey LaJoie. Here's my my hopium that I am shot in the dark gut check. Corey LaJoie, 5,800. The 7 car has had much better speed this year than in years past. And yeah, I know the same thing can be said about Corey LaJoie as anybody else on this page. No top 5s, no top 10s, 8 top 20s in his entire career on road courses. Starting 24th. But literally in the past 3 weeks, Spire Motorsports has literally dumped well over $100 million into their program. And it's already starting to show in little small increments to the 7 car and even the 77 as of lately. I think Corey's a better driver than Ty Dillon, so I think that's why we're getting better results. Corey finished 12th in this race last year. Starting 24th. He was 4th in single lap practice. Yeah, I know there's a little bit of hopium going on here, but I'm willing to take the shot at $5,800. Just to be honest, it's a shot in the dark. I'm going in on Corey LaJoie, and I understand it. That I could see the argument. Why not? Why to not do it? I think Corey's better than Mike Rockefeller. Mike Rockefeller is an incredible road course racer. He just doesn't understand this type of road course racing. Starting 26, he's raced 4 times in the Cup Series. In this next-gen car, he's got a 25.5 average finish. The problem is you're starting 26. You were 35th in single lap, 23rd in 5-lap consecutive average. Now the 42 car has been running much, much better than it has been all year long. But yeah, I don't know. I'd love for Mike to have a decent day. I just don't know if he were starting 34th or 35th, I'd have more ownership. But he's starting 26th. I think he's starting too far up for me to really have any real want or need for the 42 car. Austin Hill, who I don't know. Sorry, I didn't mean to hit the microphone. But starting 33rd compared to 26, I mean, that's 7 place differential points right there. Difference. Austin Hill was slow in practice. With a team that doesn't run full time. Understand all that. All Austin Hill needs to do, keep the car clean. Don't wreck it. Keep it on the track. And he'll finish 25th. I don't know if that's enough for Draftkings. But if there's any carnage or any chaos and he's not in it, he's got a potential at a decent day. So I've got a little bit of ownership in Austin Hill. It's definitely not like Core of the Joy, where I think it's much more of a hopium than anything. Yeah, I think Austin Hill, it's kind of like Zane Smith. Go out, run the race, keep the car clean, keep it on the track, don't wreck it, miss the carnage, and you'll get 10 spots in place differential. So I'm willing to take the shot at 5,400. Harrison Burton, I mean, kind of the same spot as Austin Hill. I have a little bit less ownership because at least Austin Hill ran really good in the Xfinity Series recently at road courses. Where Harrison, we've got a little bit more data. Out of 11 total road courses, he's only got one top 20. That one top 20 ended up being a 3rd or 4th place finish. I think that was at the Indy road course last year, where it was just absolute mayhem. But on that, I mean, he finished 28th in this race here at the Roval last year. 27.5 average finish, starting 31st. 28th in single lap. I mean, I've got some ownership because he's starting in the 30s, but I don't have a ton. So, coin flip on Harrison Burton. Todd Gillen, I mean, same thing. I mean, Todd's driving the 51. The 51 has shown parts of speed, but nowhere near what the 38 has. And the 38's his normal ride. This is Rick Ware Racing, where he normally drives for front row. $5,100, starting 32nd, practiced in 32nd. He was 20th in 5 lap consecutive, but remember, there were only 24 that did that, so he was 20th out of 24. So not great there. 29th place average finish. Finished 30th in this race last year. He does have a 21.8 average finish over 11 total starts on road courses. But that's being when he was driving the 38. I don't know if the speed's there in the 51. So I don't have a whole lot of ownership with Todd Gillen. Andy Lowley in the 15, which is the sister car to the 51. $5,000. Andy Lowley is, I mean, he's a good road course racer, but he does not typically run all that well in the next gen car. 2 starts at the 27.5 average finish, 11 total starts for his career, only 1 top 20, a 28.5 average finish. I mean, if he can go out and finish 28th, starting 35th, the problem is that's finishing too far back. It's okay in place differential world, but not in finishing world. So the two of those combined don't equal a decent day in DraftKings. You got to finish about 20th or better. And I think Todd Gillen has a better shot at doing that than Andy Lowley does. But not. I mean, he's also running the 51. But I don't love either one. That's supposed to be 0 to 5%. But I don't think I have any ownership in Andy Lowley. If I do, it's one lineup. Ty Dillon, next in line here. Hit the wall. Doing the same thing as Kyle Larson. They put the car on the trailer, took it to the shop, and they are going to bring a whole new car. Now, once again, the 77 is the sister car to the 7. They've got, for some reason, more money than they know what to do with it at this point, because they are buying everything. Like I said, over $100 million in acquisitions in the last 3 weeks for next year. So they've got money. A lot of money. And Ty Dillon's been running better as of recent, and you could almost tell when Gamebridge and Andretti came on board with Spire that all of a sudden there was this resurgence. Not even resurgence, just an awakening for that team. And you just kind of knew something was happening, and we're starting to see what's happening. They're spending a lot of money. So Ty Dillon, he'll have a decent car. He's starting dead lost on the field. There's nowhere to go but up. I'm willing to roll the dice here at $4,900. It frees up a ton of salary cap on the top side to run pretty much almost whatever you want within reason. But it really opens up the playbook at $4,900 and starting dead last. When he's got an average finish of 25.5, he finished 25th in this race last year. He's 14th in practice before he wrecked the car. So, yeah, I mean, all signs are pretty good that Ty Dillon ends up having a decent day. I'm not saying he's going to do well, but if he can finish 22nd, 23rd, starting 37th, there's enough place differential compared to finishing position to get you close to the top 15. That's real close. So I'm willing to take the shot when he's starting dead last on the field. Josh Bilicki, $4,800. Starting 28th. Outkicked his coverage. 33rd in practice, 18th in 5-lap consecutive average. 29th place average finish over the 3 starts at the 5 comparison tracks we're looking at. 20 total starts with a 29.4 average finish. There's nothing on there that says he's going to finish better than 28. So, I'm not interested in Josh Bilicki, especially, no offense to BJ McLeod. Super nice guy. But he's driving the 78. All right. Guys I like, guys I don't like, where I'm kind of sitting. I definitely like the Kyle Larson, Chris Buescher, Tyler Reddick, William Byron plays. I think those are the four best plays on the board, along with Chase Elliott. Denny Hamlin, depending on stages, but you got to set your lineups before stages happen. So, hard to say. I love the AJ Allmendinger play today or tomorrow. Corey LaJoy, I really like a lot. Let's see who else on here. Justin Haley, I like that play. I think the Ty Dillon play is definitely in play. So there's kind of some of the thoughts. I think you're looking at 1 or 2 from the highest owned guys. Then I think you're looking at 2 to 3 place differential guys. And then I think you're looking at 1 or 2 between the value and the finishing spots. And then you're on your own if you pick anything in the orange or red. All right, let's look at some optimal lineups from previous Rovals. Last year, we had 4 guys start in the 20s and 2 guys start in the top 10s. Nobody in the top 5, no front row that finished in the optimal lineup. We had one, can't really say it was a dominator because he only led 24 of the 112 laps, so it was not within the 30% range. And fast laps were kind of spread out. So, I mean, AJ Allmendinger, you can see we're finishing 7th, lead some laps, finish 4th. You make the optimal lineup at 59.8. But yeah, I mean, on the bottom side, if you can get into the 50s, I mean, that's an optimal lineup range. There was a $1,100 left over. Yeah, nobody's starting in the 30s. Now, I mean, I would have to go back and look to see if there was anybody that had issues like Ty Dillon or Larson. So, well, I'd have to go look. In the previous year, in 2021, remember that was the last generation car, but the generation car really doesn't equate a whole lot to how Draftkings ends up working other than finishing position. But Tyler Reddick started 29th, finished 2nd. Kyle Larson, 10th to 1st. Matt DiBenedetto, 30th to 6th. We had 4 guys at place differentials. So we're looking at really honing in on a 4 place differentials. I mean, that could easily be, for tomorrow's race, that could easily be Kyle Larson, Ty Dillon, who else? I mean, potentially, I don't really love playing 3 guys that are starting in the 30s. I think it gets a little risky, but you could substitute Zane Smith and Ty Dillon. But, I mean, a Corey LaJoie starting 24th is not a bad play. Chris Buescher starting in 20th, William Byron starting in 14th. There's some place differential there, and potentially really good top 5 type positions. Ryan Blaney, maybe not. I mean, the Justin Haley play is not a bad play. Cindric has potential, but like I said before, Penske has been having some troubles on road courses and racing in general. Yeah, so I mean, there's not a whole lot of plays out there that kind of play into this, so we may see a little bit of a different type of. I still think it's going to be. We may see a Tyler Reddick have a dominating type of day. That is really potentially lining up for Tyler Reddick to lead a lot of laps. We'll see, though. I mean, that's part of what we do. Yeah, I mean, he could have a Martin Truex style day. 51 out of 110 laps. He led half the race at Sonoma earlier this year. But, I mean, once again, not a huge place differential, but some place differentials. We had 3 guys that were place differentials from Sonoma. We had 4 from Watkins Glen, but still, we didn't have a lot of people that were starting way, way, way back in the back. We also didn't have a Kyle Larson wreck their car and have an issue at either one of these 2 races. So that's kind of the weird variable, is you don't typically see a lot of times. And if you do, you probably almost want to jump on them because they're typically going to end up going to have a decent day, and you don't want to miss out. Either way, I'm still calling Tyler Reddick for the win tomorrow. I got the Ryan Blaney pick correct last week, so we'll see if I can go 2 for 2. But either way, thanks for joining in. Thanks for hitting that like button and subscribe. Good to see the family man and the fish show up tonight. Thanks for tuning in, Lost Profit. Hopefully you can take home the bag this weekend. Yeah, if you're doing a bet, if I were betting my money, I would bet on Tyler Reddick as a straight up win. Either way, I appreciate you guys tuning in, and we're down to it. We've got, after this weekend, we've got 4 more episodes, and then you get 3 or 4 months off without me. I may start to end up doing might change up the channel a little bit. Thinking about going and doing these live streams on Twitter or X or Twix or whatever we want to call it. I'm going to do a lot of research this off season, and potentially, I mean, I may simulcast broadcast it to Twix is what I'll call it, YouTube, and potentially Rumble and maybe Twitch. So I may do 4 streams in one and kind of see if I get everything spread out and see if I can get more people chatting. But I appreciate it. Hey, Paul, what's going on, buddy? Appreciate the time you put into these reviews. Yeah, thank you. It helps me out a lot too. So I do it for both myself and for anybody that decides to show up and wants to hear me ramble on about silliness. But I tell you what, it's been silly season lately. So I appreciate it. Hopefully you guys take home a bag. If you do, let me know. Make sure you hit that like and subscribe button, and we will see you next Saturday. Good luck. Bye.
Get a good deep breath. Get ready to roll here. Only about one thing tonight, getting the W, so got to be around the end to do that. Get ready to roll tonight, boys. Let's go have some fun.
Don't get me any more fired up than I already am.
All the way to the checkered. You're fine. Nobody's got to run. Checker time, baby! Hell yeah! Proud of you there, Matt. Good job, pal. Thanks, man. Good job all day. Great work, my man. Great work. Keep putting yourself in position. We'll win our share, right? We got one back today, brother. Good job. Great job, guys. Excellent work, my man. Excellent work. Thank you. Man, that's awesome. Set out with a goal, we got it here, bud. Thank you very much. Really proud of you, man. Drove your butt off tonight. We had the fastest car here, bud.
Probably killed our deal there. Just feel like I gave one away.
Yeah, boys. Way to rebound. Great job.
Great job, bud. Really good job. Appreciate you hanging in there with us all weekend.
What a weekend. Good job. Thank you.